Let's sit down. While you're all thinking of questions, I'll ask Magnus a couple of questions, because now I realize I've harvested my garlic all wrong. I was cutting them off. And
they died for you, or you used them before they died?
Well, I used them before they died. I don't have a lot of garlic, but I mean, it's just enough. But now, I'm all inspired now I'm hoping my husband's all inspired now to build all that stuff. I like the clamping. I think that was really...
It's great. It's such a beautiful technique that we use something that's completely natural in the plant.
Yeah. Now, you talked in the book, well, first of all, let's talk about the book itself. The recipes are really interesting, but I want to ask you, I know chefs find it really challenging to downsize recipes from their big restaurant operations to something more manageable for the home cook. But you were saying earlier that you found this a little easier because you are feeding 8 to 16 diners a night.
Yeah, so it's not that difficult to just split the recipes. And also, we haven't changed the recipes. They are the recipes that we use in the restaurant, so they haven't in any way been adapted for the home cook, actually.
But does that mean that, I know the classic video that I think everybody's seen where you take the femur and saw it in half? Do we all have to go out and get our saw now and bring it out to the table?
If you want to do that particular dish, you should definitely go out and get your saw.
That's for the marrow and heart recipe. But I think too, you also talk about you're driven more by vegetables and dairy rather than meat and game. And you say that, and it's obvious here tonight that is, because you've talked a lot about that.
Yeah, it's really, to me it's very important, and it's actually what makes a difference in the dish to me. And most people would think of vegan from seeing maybe articles and things like that it's a sort of a meat restaurant.
Well, it's a hunting lodge too.
But it's not. Like, if you have 20, 25 servings, 2 of them will be based on meat, and the rest will be based on something else, fish or vegetables. And for me it's like, if you have a dish which might be something like a piece of chicken with carrots and broccoli, and you take away the chicken and you substitute it with a piece of veal, it will still be the same dish. It will sort of eat the same, it will have the same wine with it, and everything. But if you substitute that piece of vegetable, you take away the broccoli and the carrot, and you add something else, you add some fresh peas, you have a new dish.
Do you
So
change
for me,
your
the vegetables are what drives the food.
At the back of the book, I don't know, some of you have got the book there, there's the great menus, and you notice how you tweak it, you do it by the month too, to show. But a lot does stay the same, but you can tell how you are just tweaking as the seasons go on. Because you say you store all your fruits and vegetables through the winter, vegetables and seeds for 1,400 diners. That's a lot of storage.
Yeah, it's about 3,000 kilos of vegetables going into storage every autumn.
Wow. That's jaw-dropping.
Yes.
But I think, we talked about this earlier in the store where people, everybody would love, it's local to the utmost, where, you walk the talk, you live the talk. You really are doing local and sustainable. But I want to ask you too, you were also choosing between cooking and marine biology when you were choosing your education.
I've been choosing among many things actually, but that was
one.
Yeah.
Does that affect you? Did that influence you in any way?
I think that I've always been interested in science in general, and that particular time it was marine biology. But I think that it affects the restaurant because I'm interested in science and nature science, and I like to apply the scientific process to learning.
Well, the whole fermentation, which is very popular these days.
It's very popular these days.
And you're doing it, and it's great, because I love to see how you're doing it without this, you don't need the government seal of approval over everything too. So it's wonderful that you've been doing a lot of this. And, you haven't killed anybody in your restaurant.
No, as far as I know, you never know.
That's right.
There might be single diners sort of lying in the forest somewhere.
on the 32,000 acres. What's your biggest challenge, though, being because we're a northern climate too, and I think we relate to that quite well. What is the biggest challenge? You're in almost a subarctic region.
I think it is a subarctic climate, actually. And I think that our biggest challenge is, as I just kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, is that it's just to keep a constant flow of enough produce, but also good enough produce, so that we never have to feel that we drop in quality.
Well, what happens when there isn't enough? Like if
there is enough.
There is enough. There's never not enough.
I've been doing this for 5 years on Fadiken, and I kind of learned how to plan. And we're fortunate because we have almost the same number of people eating every week, so it's easy to plan that way. We know how much we're going to use of things. And the thing is that we don't plan that we have to have a specific produce in a specific quantity. We have to have a total amount of produce available every week, so that it's enough for everyone. And that's the most important thing. And whether it's carrots or beetroots or leaks, it doesn't really matter, but there has to be enough of something, and the total amount has to be enough for 20 courses for 60 diners a week.
There's been great commentary now about, new Nordic cuisine. It's a phase, it's a reference and everything. And yet you say, you've got René Redzepi at Noma and your colleagues also in Sweden, but you say that's not going to last. You think the chefs who are doing modernist cuisine will have a bigger impact than...
Well, I think, like with all things that are exciting and new and get hyped, the hype dies out after a while. And that's probably going to happen also with the current sort of extreme interest in Nordic cuisine. But what I'm hoping for is that by having this hype, probably and hopefully open the eyes of the rest of the world to our region, where there is actually a lot of good things to eat and a really good, nice, diverse flora of restaurants as well. So even though, like if you look at Spain, that was the hottest place you could go in the world and eat just 5 or 6 years ago. And now sort of the world spotlight might be aimed somewhere else, but they still have their restaurant and they still develop their stuff and people still go there. And for me, that's the important part. I'm going to continue cooking this way, even if it's not the hottest thing you can do anymore, And hopefully people still like it.
Yeah. Well, I think
to some extent.
Well, but I mean, it's a trek to get there. I mean, you find it kind of ironic that you're literally producing everything, within the small range of where you are. Yet people are traveling a long distance to get to you. I mean, it's 650 kilometers north of Stockholm.
Yeah.
So it's a plane, train, and a reindeer.
I don't find it ironic. I find it interesting.
Do you find, though, do you travel a lot, though, to other places?
I travel a lot. Yeah, I like traveling. I think it's very not so much for inspiration in the kitchen, because I try to focus on what we have and look inwards and really develop that into something that I love doing and that I love presenting to other people. But I love traveling too, and it's one of the great pleasures of life is to experience other cultures and other things.
How was the process of writing a book? Did you find that really, now your publisher can close their ears at this point perhaps, but was it more difficult than you thought? Like, what was your inspiration to do that?
I think that most chefs maybe at some point feel that they want to produce a book. And I thought maybe that it was a little bit too early to produce a book about Fäviken. And then I realized, sort of, because I was proposed by a few different publishers at almost the same time to do something. And it ended up being Faden, which I'm very happy with. And then I realized while doing the book that it was actually very interesting, because it's not a retrospective book, it's a book about what's happening right now. And most cookbooks and chef's books, they are retrospective.
That's true. And I like the writing in the book. I think, because I'm not going to be getting my bark, just lovely done for the vinegar and everything, burnt bark. But the recipes are interesting, but I think the writing though, and it was very intriguing because it wasn't until I got to the very end of the book that you really talk about the restaurant and yourself and the philosophy, whereas that usually is right up front for a lot of people. But
it was too much stuff in the front, so they just moved
it. You had to put it to the back? Is that what it was? Well, thankfully that was a really different kind of approach to doing the book, and I really appreciated that. But I love when you talk about Magdalena, your gardener, the dairy section made me want to, I literally went to the fridge and just got a hunk of cheese. I mean, it was just wonderful.
That's what I'm aiming for, people going to the fridge.
Yeah, it was, well, I should be going outside now. I'm harvesting and milking a cow too, but how do you find though, you're all thinking of questions, right? Because I could go on like this for a while, and so...
I have a timer on.
Do you have a timer? Okay, good. So you can cut me off too. Does anybody have a question, or...?
But how often are you forwarding new stuff every year? Like, are you reaching a peak?
Yeah, we're still finding new stuff all the time. So we haven't, as we know, peaked yet in that aspect. And the thing is that people think that there is much less diversity than it is in the North. There are a lot more stuff there than we would think. You just have to look for them. Like we can grow almost any vegetable you can grow in Central Europe, except celeriac, mysteriously enough, and the tomato. That's about it.
That's it. Do you bring those in? Do you bring those in then?
No, we don't.
You don't use tomatoes?
And we don't have lemons and stuff. We don't have much tree fruits.
What do you bring in then?
The sugar comes from the south of Sweden. The salt is also from the south, and the rapeseed oil is also from the south.
Coffee?
Yeah, coffee. Oh, the drinks, we don't apply the same rules on the drinks because then no one will come to the restaurant. It's very complicated. It used to be beer and vodka and stuff. No, but I actually, I find it that we have a very large ingredients list already, and I haven't really felt that I lack things to work with. And I feel that we're still discovering new things to work with, and I still feel that we have a lot of things that we already know are there, but that we haven't had the time to work with yet. So.
To explore them.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're quite remote, so do people sometimes stay for 2-3 days? And if they do, would they be getting a different meal each evening?
They're not staying with us for 2 days. Though. They can stay in the region if they want to, but we only do one night. Because we're not really a hotel. We're a restaurant with a few rooms. And we have nothing to offer to people during the day. So in the beginning we kind of did a few days, and we tried to vary the menu, and we quite quickly found that it was just difficult because it didn't give us much, and we felt that we couldn't give the customers sort of the right experience the whole time. So we just decided on that people check in no earlier than 5 in the afternoon. They have dinner, they stay one night, they have breakfast, and then they check out. And if they want to stay longer in the region, we can help them to organize a hotel with a ski resort, which is 20 minutes away from us. There are plenty of different hotels to choose from. That's usually the way we go.
Just at the very back, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you source your meat and fish?
Yeah, sure. So for the fish, we start with that. We have freshwater fish from the area, and it's mainly brown trout and Arctic char. And that's something that we either fish ourselves, the staff, or buy from local sport fishermen, because we need so small quantities, so it's quite easy. When it comes to saltwater fish, mollusks and shellfish, they all come from Norway, which is close. The Norwegian coastline is about 180 kilometers away from Færøyene. And we work with a small business there. It's a family who has a small fishery business on an island called Hitra, and they supply all that. And we can get things from them every day but Sunday if we want to. The quality is just amazing. It's quite cool actually, because when I worked in France, I remember the best scallops that we ever got was from this company that we work with today, which is just like 2 hours from the restaurant, which is fun. And then when it comes to meat, we have a little bit on the estate itself. We have sheep, and I also have sheep at home. We have poultry, which we keep in cooperation with a guy that we just call Mr. Duck. Or he's also known as the bird anarchist. You just pick the one you like the best. But he takes care of all the poultry that we own, because we have our own breeding program too. Because in Sweden it's really difficult to find good chickens and ducks. I don't know how it's here, but it's like almost impossible. So we try to make that ourselves, make it better. And then when it comes to beef, we work with a few different farms, a few different dairy farms in the area, and when they have something that they feel will be suitable for us, because they know us quite well by now, they call me or they call Sam, who's the head chef, and then we just drive there and have a look, and if we both feel that this is going to be great, we buy it alive as it stands there, and then we take care of all the slaughtering and stuff. We send it to a cooperative slaughterhouse in the region.
You oversee all the slaughtering of all the animals?
And pork comes from also from a dairy farm actually that produces cheese, and we have pigs that they feed with a whey, which produces it. Whey is, by the way, it's a traditional food for pigs in our region, and it produces absolutely excellent meat, very nice and fat and good.
How long you hang your pig?
Sorry?
How long you hang your pig?
Yeah, the pig, or the meat, beef. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Depends on the quality of the actual carcass, but usually we start by hanging it for 1 month whole, the whole body. We break it down and we prepare charcuteries or whatever we are sort of planning for most of it, and then we keep the prime cuts until we feel that they have reached sort of perfect maturity, which can be anywhere between one more month, up to 6 or 7 or even longer sometimes months.
Back over here, because I go to zigzag here. Yes, at the very back.
Kind of a two-part question. I was just wondering, after you stepped away from cooking, after you left France, it seems like the cuisine you're doing now is so different from what you were doing before. So I'm just kind of wondering what sparked that creativity back and how it led to what you're doing now. And I guess the second part would be, you said you've been at Fabricant for 5 years. I was wondering, how long do you think it took until you actually caught your stride and became 100% satisfied with every dish? Well, it might not always be every dish, but how comfortable you're at that moment.
Yeah. So the time I did not really cook was not quite 2 years, but almost. And I cooked a little bit. So I worked a little extra and I did a few things, but I didn't really cook that much during 2 years. And I think what happened during that time is that I kind of distance myself a little bit from what I did before. And even today, like especially when I look at photos of food from the restaurant, I can still see traces of, for example, Las Trans, because they have a very particular aesthetical language on the plate. And I can still see that, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I just see it as part of my aesthetical expression, because it's part of me. I've been there for a long time, and sort of it makes sense to me now. And when it comes to the quality in the restaurant, I felt that in the beginning, when it was just me or like one more chef working, and when we were a different restaurant than we are today, it was a lot less consistent. It was more up and down. And I would say that today we have very few sort of dips in quality. And I think it's been like that for maybe a year and a half. So it took, 3.5 years before I kind of felt that we were constantly delivering on a very high quality every night almost. And at this point I also felt that I could concentrate, I could kind of let go a little bit of certain things in service, and I could concentrate more on the creative part, and also on actually making the customer understand what it is they're eating. Make sure that everyone really understands, the backstory and the context and so on.
You go out into the restaurant though, a lot, where the diners are.
Sorry?
And you go out into the restaurant and chat. A lot.
Yeah, we all of us do.
You go out, present the food.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it's less now, but because we're so many in the kitchen now. But in the beginning, the waiters, the front of house staff, they also work in the kitchen.
Okay.
So everyone dressed, for example. Everyone dressed plates.
Good. Excellent.
Here we are post-event, and it's very exciting because we just had a packed house for Magnus Nilsson, number 34 in the best restaurants in the world list, but also most importantly, it's inspiring. That's the big comment we're getting back from Reed. They're really inspired, his passion really came through. So this is a fantastic thing, and the best part is, he was born the year we opened the Cookbook Store, which I think is just amazing. So the passion is there for all of us. We're still excited, he's exciting. If you haven't got the book, if you can't make it to Fabricant, because it is 650 kilometers north of Stockholm, you got to get the book, because it's like being there.